Minnesota University gymnastics coach Fred Roethlisberger and his exceptionally talented daughter, Marie. Another family, another daughter, another Olympic hopeful, Amy Koopman. Both Amy and Marie belong to a unique American gymnastics club. Guest correspondent and gymnast Bart Connor went to Chicago's Mid-America Twisters to investigate.
Amy Koopman and Marie Roethlisberger are both among America's top 10 female gymnasts. They're the same age, they have the same coach, and they share the same dreams of Olympic glory. The similarities, however, end there. I found the atmosphere inside unusually subdued, despite the presence of several teenage girls stretching. It's the coach who sets the mood, and innovative Bill Sands is all business.
The gym was set up to be a very high-powered, no-nonsense training center to put gymnasts. I really believe the function of this gym is to put gymnasts on the national team.
Speaking of your gymnasts, you do have some incredibly talented girls here. Amy Koopman in particular, what kind of girl is she to work with?
Oh, she's a pleasure. She's very articulate, very intelligent, very hard-working child.
And Lynn Lederer?
Yeah, Lynn is the giggling one that we have in the gym. She's the one that's always, probably the most emotional of all the girls that we had.
You mean the most out to lunch, probably?
Yeah, sometimes.
How about Marie Roethlisberger? She's also had an interesting past with her father and grandfather being in gymnastics. How is she to work with?
Marie's probably one of the most stubborn athletes I've ever coached. She's so easily angered at herself. She's so stubborn and driven that if she makes an error, instead of making a mechanical correction, she makes an emotional correction for a mechanical problem where she gets angry at herself, and then you have to get through the anger to get down to the problem of the skill. So
it's a competitive environment, and also a lonely one for a 16-year-old living 400 miles from home and the father she gets to see so seldom. What do you think? Are you pretty proud of her?
Oh, it's exciting, Bart, to see her in it like this. And there's been those occasions, like the final trials last year, where I was coaching two men in the meet. And then when the men weren't competing, you know, I had my daughter in the final trials competing, and I was pretty excited, much more excited and nervous than I wanted to be, really.
I imagine it's difficult to be a parent and a coach, but do you find yourself tempted to coach her?
Always very tempted. You know, I know that I can't do the job because I'm coaching the men, and it takes so much time to begin with. I could never do the job, but it's nice to have her come home and come in our gym, show up my men in the gym a lot of times. As you know, she's strong enough to do that.
Yeah, sure.
And I keep our relationship on just the fun level, so when she comes, we play.
How about here? Now she's training with Bill Sands. Does she enjoy this atmosphere here? I mean, I know it's 400 miles away from home.
Well, it's very mixed, you know. It makes for some awful lonely Sundays because I've had Marie there raising her, and she's kind of taking care of me too, as much as I've taken care of her. So she's very pleased to be here, and she knows that it's done a lot for her, and she probably wouldn't be where she is if she wasn't in a high-level training situation like this one.
She is a very determined and very directed young girl, and maybe some people would call it stubborn, but at the same time, she's really sticking to it. Where does she get that? Is that from you?
You know, a lot of the other coaches always kid me about that. They say, boy, she's stubborn, ornery, isn't she? I wonder where she got that. And yeah, I think she's got that ability to keep, to run through a brick wall if she needs to. I've raised Marie as a single parent since she was 7. Well, Marie lost all her hearing in her left ear and most of her hearing in her right ear when she was 2.5 and had spinal meningitis, but her hearing has also contributed to the fact that she isn't able to interact very well in groups or social groups. This is one of the reasons it's very difficult right now, and has been when she moved away, to get the kind of training that she's receiving here.
A perfectionist, Marie is an A student, despite living far from her Minneapolis roots.
I miss seeing my dad a lot. I miss seeing my mom a lot, too. I really love them a lot, and I think they really try and help as much as they can, even though I'm living away from them.
Marie's had a variety of coaches. Marie has been trained in a non feminine approach, I would say. So her principal problems are not technical gymnastics. Her principal problems are emoting well and dancing well. I think we have the whole spectrum of emotional makeups for each of the children that we have, from all the way from Marie, who is very driven and stubborn, to Amy, who's very affectionate and very loving. Marie is living away from home and has to contend with that, not having parents around. Amy has a very loving and supporting family.
Amy is also an honor roll student, but gymnastics was her first love.
Well, ever since I was like 2, I was doing splits and trying cartwheels and all that kind of stuff. So my mom finally decided, you know, it was time to get me into a gymnastics class so I wouldn't kill myself. I think I've always considered dancing natural. And I never really had to work at it, I mean, to the extent of some gymnasts do.
In 1980, Amy made our Olympic team. She just turned 13. If we had gone to Moscow, she would have been the youngest Olympian in our history. At Amy's Arlington Heights, Illinois home, I met her brother Rick, sisters Suzanne and Melissa, and talked to her parents, Rich and Judy Koopman. What's it like being the parents of Amy Koopman now that she's reached a certain level of national and international acclaim?
It's full of challenges, trying to find time to fit in all the different things we have to do, not only with Amy, but with the rest of the children. We just, you know, we want to be involved with all the children, not just Amy. We have younger children as well as an older child.
Do you all have any concerns about Amy's social interactions with her peers? She's really not just a normal girl anymore.
She isn't able to keep up a one-to-one friendship with high school friends right here in town like she'd like to.
Maybe she won't have as many friends, but they could be more meaningful to her because of associations and teamwork and camaraderie that's been brought to bear by being a member of national teams and so forth.
There are certainly things that she can't do. She would love to have been in drama in high school and couldn't, you know, doesn't have the time for that. And cheerleading and the dance organizations that are at school, because dance she loves so much.
Here she gets to shine at a fundraiser for the gymnastics club.
She loves to express herself. That's from within. She's a Leo, and I think that that has something to do with it. She's, you know, they like to be the center of attention and perform.
Bill Sands feels that her ballet-like grace typifies Amy's approach to her sport.
Amy takes a very different approach to gymnastics. Most of the girls in gymnastics take a very masculine approach. They want to dominate the event in a very masculine way. Amy is a real artist. It would make Amy very angry if she won and did poorly. She is a better than adequate tumbler, but not a superb tumbler. And yet her dance work is head and shoulders above everybody else. There's no one that really even compares. I think Amy at the moment is one of the best dancers in the world, gymnastically, if not the best.
Fort Worth, Texas, site of the United States Gymnastics International Invitational.
Marie needs to conquer her stubbornness, so she's more open to correction without being emotional about it, without getting angry about it, and more open to making mistakes.
Even so, she only missed making the last U.S. World Championship team by 0.3 of a point. Amy ties for first in the floor exercise, but Coach Sands thinks she can do even better.
Amy needs to conquer her own confidence, I guess would be the best way of putting it, is that I don't think that Amy knows how good she is, or really believes that she's as good as she is. She's always come within inches of her goal, and something interferes. And so she needs to conquer her ability to deal with a decisive moment.
My coaches tell me, you know, that I could possibly, you know, win a medal, like a, say, floor, for example, if I hit. And really, there's nothing I can do except do my best. When it gets down to me, I really don't get nervous until I'm there. Then I get nervous.
open-minded Marie Rethlisberger and vivacious Amy Koopman. Two teenagers in search of the key to themselves and Olympic glory.
The top 10 is determined by how well they can deal with themselves. The great equalizer, the great ranking thing, the measurement of their ability is more themselves than it is their sport.
To Southern California. My colleague, Road to Los Angeles field correspondent Jim Hill, reports from Huntington Beach, California.
This is the home of the Southern California Acro team, better known as SCATS. Here, Don Peters, head coach of the United States Women's Olympic Gymnastics team, has attracted so many world-class athletes that half of our entire Olympic women's gymnastics team could conceivably come from this club. Certainly, one of Coach Peters' prime candidates is all-around world trials champion Julianne McNamara.
At the top of his profession for 10 years, SCATS head coach Don Peters has watched the sport evolve.
Can you straighten earlier?
There has been a trend since the late 70s where the sport has been moving more towards more powerful kind of tumbling and more powerful vaulting, that kind of thing. But the person that wins is going to be the powerful gymnast who is also elegant.
In your official capacity as head coach of the Women's Olympic Gymnastics team, how will the squad do?
Well, I'll make the prediction that I've been making for the last 6 months. We're going to do better as a team than we've ever done. Our team will place higher than it's ever placed in Olympic Games, and we will win more medals than we've ever won.
Julianne McNamara is a favorite to win the gold medal, and I know she means something very special to you.
Julianne McNamara is just a really fantastic gymnast. She's kind of a kid that does not dislike working on her weaknesses. She'll spend hours working on her weaknesses. She'll spend hours working on her strengths. She's a very goal-oriented person, very easy person to coach because she is so goal-oriented, and she's not happy with anything unless it's absolutely the best that it can be done.
You're a little tight in here. Try and relax it.
Australian-born, Coach Mary Wright has been at SCATS for 5 years and has become Don Peters' principal associate in the program.
Try and relax. Push down a little bit now with your arm. Does it hurt?
I feel we have the finest coaching staff in the country. Every one of my assistant coaches could go out and be a head coach anywhere else in the country. And we're able to provide that kind of program and that kind of individual attention.
Oh, good one.
I started gymnastics when I was about 10, and with the club that I was at before, I wasn't reaching my potential. So I came down here to train with Don Peters and Mary Wright. I needed to work a lot on my difficulty level, increasing it and learning new tricks and just renovating my routines, and that's what I've done since I've been down here. Well, Mary Wright is a great person and a great coach.
Okay, try the mound again. You need to get the hand off early. Do you feel your chest rounded too much over there? Get the hand behind you more on the mound.
Mary coaches me on beam and floor. Beam and floor brings out more expression and you're kind of your own personality, whereas bars and vaulting is more technical things and strengths and using your power more, not as much expression.
Julianne left her Oregon club for SCATS, and it paid off with an all-around win at our 1983 World Trials.
Julianne McNamara is a sweetheart. She's just a really lovely child. She's very disciplined, sometimes a little too hard on herself, and she gets down a little bit, but usually she can get over that quickly, and that tends to be around the time of a major competition, and it's just usually tension and so on. But she's a good kid. She's fun to work with, and she's fun outside the gym.
Back with more on the SCATS Gymnastics Club and their star gymnast Julianne McNamara right after this.
Back for the Road to Los Angeles. My colleague Jim Hill is at the famous SCATS facility in Los Angeles for more of our story on women's Olympic gymnastics head coach Don Peters and on one of Don's prize proteges, 18-year-old Julianne McNamara. Jim?
Steve, at only 14, she was on the ill-fated 1980 U.S. Olympic team. So her world-class standing is well established. Her mother, Jean, gets a rare chance to watch her practice.
When Julianne goes out to do her thing, when she goes out to compete, she does not know or watch scores. And that is really why I think she's a great competitor. she is very persistent in what she sets out to do, no matter what it is.
Okay, not too bad.
She's coached on both balance beam and floor exercises by head coach Don Peters' key associate, Mary Wright.
Up quicker into that. Back handspring, you're undercutting it too much.
There are only a few clubs in America that train world-class gymnasts, so many of the girls have to live far from home, and their families must make sacrifices.
I was coming down to Huntington Beach sometimes once, twice, or 3 times, and sometimes 4 times a month, and having to get a motel and eat out. Because SCATS, the club that Julianne is now training at, does demand that parents participate. So as an economic and also a matter of stability, we decided that we would get an apartment down here, and then my husband would be the only one that would have to commute.
So how's Dad doing? Well, I wanted to move away from home when I was 14, and my parents didn't want me to go, but they knew that I wanted to do that, so they backed me up because I wanted to do it.
Kitchen and so you had fun with Mary on the Olympics is very important to Julianne and also to my husband and I and family because of the direction she has taken.
Thanksgiving.
There are times when I've felt that I don't personally think it's worth it sometimes. I really have to say that. But when I see that she feels that it's really worth it, then I would not go back and say, well, I won't do this ever again.